The ALEC member corporations helped craft the bill. ALEC legislators introduce it and vote on it, and now there's a state law on the books that enables one of those corporations to get state money. Game, set, match. But remember, this story isn't about one company in the education industry and one law in Tennessee. It's about hundreds of corporations in most every industry, influencing lawmakers in state after state using ALEC as a front.
There's a book that I read quite frequently as a guide to many of the things that I do, and it's called Fifth Discipline by Peter Singens, and it talks about systems thinking. And actually, I think this effort, Alex, is a very good example of systems thinking for a not so good purpose.
This spring I got a call from a person who said that all of the ALEC bills were available and was I interested in looking at them. And I said I was.
Lisa Graves, a former Justice Department lawyer, runs the Center for Media and Democracy. That's a nonprofit investigative reporting group in Madison, Wisconsin. In 2011, by way of an ALEC insider, Graves got her hands on a virtual library of internal ALEC documents. She was amazed by its contents, a treasure trove of actual ALEC model bills.
These are the bills that were provided by the whistleblower. That's just the index.
There were more than 850 of them. 850 boilerplate laws that ALEC legislators could introduce as their own in any state in the union.
Bills to change the law to make it harder for American citizens to vote, those were ALEC bills. Bills to dramatically change the rights of Americans who are killed or injured by corporations, those were ALEC bills. Bills to make it harder for unions to do their work were ALEC bills. Bills to basically block climate change agreements, those were ALEC bills. When I looked at them, I was really shocked. I didn't know how incredibly extensive and deep and far-reaching this effort to rework our laws was.
This has been going on for decades, but somehow ALEC managed to remain the most influential corporate-funded political organization you'd never heard of.
Name keeps me
until a gunshot sounded in the Florida night.
Trayvon Martin unarmed, but for a bag of candy and an iced tea that he was carrying.
You'll recall that the shooter in Trayvon Martin's death was protected at first by Florida's so-called Stand Your Ground law. That law was the work of the National Rifle Association. There's its lobbyist standing right beside Governor Jeb Bush when he signed it into law in 2005. Although ALEC didn't originate the Florida law, it seized on it for the Stand Your Ground model it would circulate in other states. 24 of them have passed a version of it.
How did this law not only get in place in Florida, but around the country? And all the fingers kept pointing back to ALEC.
When civil rights and grassroots groups learned about ALEC's connection to Stand Your Ground laws, they were outraged.
ALEC doesn't do its work alone. They do it with some of the biggest...
If you look at the Stand Your Ground law, there also has another term that also was in play when I mentioned the Castle Doctrine, which means if you are a gun owner and you have the right to protect your place of work or your place of home residence, you can use this entitlement to the same situation as the Stand Your Ground law. Now, if you look at what the NRA is trying to practice with issuing gun rights laws, most of them, yes, are Republican, but they're counterplaying each and every little strategy that is a part of this ALEC.
This happens in what ALEC calls task forces. There are currently 8 of them, with a corporate take on every important issue in American life, from health and safety to the environment to taxation. In ALEC task forces, elected state officials and corporate representatives close the doors to press and public, and together approve the bills that will be sent out to America. But Americans have no idea they come from
General
ALEC.
Assembly, a group called Source Watch has identified a partial list of North Carolina politicians that are known to be involved or previously involved in ALEC.
Often find ALEC hiding in plain sight.
ALEC has, in addition to its regular vacation resort trips, it also has special, what it calls boot camps on particular substantive issues.
In March 2011, ALEC held one of those boot camps for legislators at the North Carolina Capitol in Raleigh. The subject was so-called tort reform, how to keep the average Joe from successfully suing a corporation for damages. The day after the boot camp, 2 state representatives presented the draft version of a House bill chock full of ALEC priorities. It would, among other things, limit corporate product liability in North Carolina. One of the representatives, Jonathan Ryan, was quoted in the Raleigh News-Observer saying of ALEC, "I really don't know much about them." That's odd, because Ryan had been listed as a featured speaker at the ALEC Tort Reform Boot Camp. The paper also reported that Ryan said the bill wasn't copied from ALEC model legislation. That too is odd, given how the sections covering product liability could have passed as twins.